compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Salute to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'd like to have a moment of silence for all the Israelis and the friends of Israel who were murdered over the past 4 or 5 days by the terrorists. Okay, thank you. So the public is aware, the council and I were delayed this evening. There was a rally up at the JCC in support of Israel, and we were all up there for the past hour and a half or so. So thank you for your patience. We appreciate it.
If you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, I just think what a terrible thing, but it is great. I'll always find the positive. So many people there. We were recognized statewide, so statewide officials were there. It was super cool. I was just telling Councilwoman Dr. O'Connor, all the different cities, council people from all over the state were there. So again, I'll always find the silver lining. It was great to see everyone coming together. So thank you for your leadership. Absolutely.
Very much so. The Attorney General was there also tonight.
Yeah, no, statewide. It was just incredible.
And
cool.
The last speaker was a lone soldier, and for anyone who doesn't know what a lone soldier is, it's a soldier that's serving in the Israeli Defense Forces. They're Americans, or from our point of view, of course, they're Americans, and the particular soldier who spoke, she's 21 years old, she's a Tenafly resident, and she's over there by herself in Israel in the Israeli Defense Forces, and she spoke tonight, and she was the best speaker of the whole group as far as I'm concerned, because she's in the midst of it. Well, you know, and she happens to be home on leave right now, and she's going back to Israel at the end of this month. So, very courageous. Okay, Omar, could we please have a roll call?
Councilmember Dayton. Councilmember Grossman.
Here.
Councilmember Menon.
Here.
Councilmember Michaels.
Present.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor.
Here.
Councilmember Park.
Here.
Mayor Zena.
Here. I just want to make a comment. I heard from Councilwoman Dayton on the way over. She's dealing with a flooding issue at her home, and she was stopping at her home to make sure everyone's okay before she gets here. Okay.
It's not even raining and we have flooding?
No, so, the third floor bathroom overflowed, went to the second floor, first floor. That has something to do with her 2 daughters. I didn't ask too many questions. Okay. First thing, we have a presentation in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month, the proclamation. Now, as a member of the public going to be reading this, you step right up to the microphone here. How are you doing tonight? Good, good. Okay, so you're going to speak into the microphone. You're going to tell us first your names. You each get your own mic. And tell us your names and your grades and how you're here tonight. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Alexa Cuevas.
Talk to the mic.
Hello, my name is Alexa Cuevas. I'm a senior at Tenafly High School, and I'm doing good tonight.
Okay.
I'm Olivia Callahan. I'm also a senior.
Olivia?
Yes.
Okay.
Callahan. I'm also a senior at Tenafly High School, and I'm doing pretty well.
Okay. All right, so are you going to take turns reading?
I'm going to read a version in Spanish, and Olivia's going to read
Oh,
a version
okay,
in
great.
English.
All right, so who's going first? All right, go right ahead. Just speak into the mic, please.
Considerando que los hispanos americanos han enriquecido nuestra vida social, intelectual y artística en los Estados Unidos de América, y considerando que los hispanoamericanos son el segmento más joven y de más rápido crecimiento de los Estados Unidos de América, y que la población residente de hispanos americanos en el municipio de Tenafly se ha duplicado en los últimos 10 años, y por cuanto Durante el Mes Nacional de la Herencia Hispana, el municipio de Tenafly reconoce que la herencia hispana es la herencia estadounidense. Y vemos esta influencia en casi todos los aspectos de nuestras vidas, y considerando que cada año los estadounidenses celebran el Mes Nacional de la Herencia Hispana, celebrando las historias, culturas y contribuciones de los ciudadanos estadounidenses cuyos antepasados vinieron de México, España, el Caribe, América Central y del Sur. Y considerando que lo que comenzó en 1968 como la Semana de la Herencia Hispana bajo el presidente Johnson fue ampliado por el presidente Reagan en 1988 para cubrir un periodo de 30 días que comienza el 15 de septiembre y termina el 15 de octubre. Y considerando que el día 15 de septiembre es significativo porque es el aniversario de la independencia de los países latinoamericanos, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras y Nicaragua. Además, México y Chile celebran sus días de independencia el 16 y 18 de septiembre respectivamente. Y considerando que el tema de este año, Latinos impulsando la prosperidad, el poder y el progreso en Estados Unidos, nos alienta a saludar las contribuciones vitales de estos servidores públicos y de los más de 62 millones de latinos que ayudan a fortalecer nuestra nación todos los días. Y ahora, por lo tanto, se resuelve que en este día, 10 de octubre del 2023, el alcalde y el consejo del municipio de Tenafly proclaman por la presente del 15 de septiembre al 15 de octubre del 2023 como el mes de la herencia hispana y alientan a todos los residentes y empleados del municipio a celebrar nuestra historia única y vibrante. Es una historia de trabajo duro, familia, fe, orgullo y posibilidades. Y es una prueba de que no hay nada que no podemos hacer cuando lo hacemos juntos.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay,
This is the English version of what Alexa just said.
just speak into the microphone, okay?
Okay. Whereas Hispanic Americans has enriched our social, intellectual, and artistic life in the United States of America, and whereas Hispanic Americans are the youngest and fastest growing segment of the United States of America, and the resent population of Hispanic Americans in the borough of Tenafly has doubled in the last 10 years. And whereas during National Hispanic Heritage Month, the borough of Tenafly recognizes the Hispanic heritage is an American heritage, and we see that the influence in almost every aspect of our lives. And whereas each year Americans observe National Hispanic Heritage Month by celebrating the histories, cultures, and contributions of the American citizens whose ancestors came from Mexico, Spain, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. And whereas what began in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week under President Johnson was expanded by President Reagan in 1988 to cover a 30-day period starting on September 15th and ending on October 15th. And whereas the day of September 15th is significant because it is the anniversary of independence for Latin American countries, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. In addition, Mexico and Chile celebrate their independence on September 16th and 18th, respectively. And whereas this year's theme, Latinos, Driving Prosperity, Power, and Progressive in America, encourages us to salute the vital contributions of these public services and the more than 62 million Latinos who make up our nation stronger every day. And now, therefore, be it resolved that on this day, 10th of October 2023, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly do hereby proclaim September 15th to October 15th, 2023 as Hispanic Heritage Month, and encourage all residents and borough employees to celebrate our unique and vibrant history. It is a story of hard work, family, faith, pride, and responsibility, and it is proof that there is nothing we cannot do when we do it together.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. All right, next on the agenda is my report with the DEP and stormwater issues, and we've asked Andy to join us here, our borough engineer, so we could talk about that a little. So Andy, why don't you step up to the mic? I sent you a copy of this, didn't I? Right? And so my paragraph indents are a little screwed up, but other than that, I'll talk about our meeting. So I went there. I went to meet the commissioner of the DEP, along with some of his staff, along with Senator Johnson and Assemblywoman Hayter. And the senator had a particular issue with Englewood he was advocating for, which is a whole nother story. And then we had the opportunity to advocate for Tenafly's issues, which I'll say in a summary. You know, we've got a couple of main problems. Our creeks, the Tennakill and the Overpeck, and the small tributaries that feed into them have filled up tremendously over the past 75 or 100 years with sediment, dirt, rock, trees, all kinds of stuff. So the creeks carry far less water than they used to carry, okay, to take it away to the ocean. In addition, our storm drain systems are too small for the amount of rainwater that is falling in short periods of time. So it's the same problem on both the creeks and the storm drains. They can't carry the water away fast enough. We can't just increase the size of the storm drains in Tenafly if Englewood doesn't do it, because we have big pipes and they have small pipes. Well, when our full pipes hit their pipes, what is it called? The water energizes and the streets blow up, like we've had on 4 different streets during Hurricane Ida.
Yeah, like 8 different streets.
Okay, 8 different streets. So the main problem is the water not being carried away. So some of the solutions are getting permits from the DEP on a regional basis to dredge our streams. So not just desnagging them, actually getting them to carry more water than they're carrying now, which will help prevent flooding. Right, but that has to be done along the whole streamline, all the way down to the Overpeck and then down to the ocean. Okay. The second, another issue is, yeah.
What happens if our neighboring towns don't do the same?
As I'm about to say, because I'm about to get into that.
Okay.
What? The what?
To let Omar know that Lauren just came in.
Oh, Lauren, Councilwoman Dayton's here.
Thank you.
Okay. The commissioner talked about the concept of a storm water utility, all right? So that regionally, to your question, Lauren, is that all the towns along this Northern Valley area work together to solve this problem. And along with that, the state would pay for the organizational expenses of a stormwater utility. The reason the main argument for supporting them are, this is a regional problem. They want stormwater utilities throughout the state. And if you think about it, we have sewer authorities, we have water companies that manage the water in terms of the fresh water we drink. Some municipalities manage it themselves, but we don't have stormwater utilities in the state. It's pretty much every community for themselves. And so they're trying to incentivize communities to work together to resolve this issue. And then along with that comes federal, state, county money and cooperation to help do it, accomplish it on a larger scale, because it's not just isolated to Tenafly. And the third big topic that was talked about was the concept of blue acres, where, you know, there is, just like green acres, there's a fund at the state that allows municipalities, and municipalities take care of this. They take advantage of it, whereas when properties come up for sale, or if residents volunteer to sell their properties that are constantly flooding along the waterways, there's state money to help us buy those properties and turn them back into kind of a natural area where the water can go when it floods. So I'm going to stop talking a minute and let Andy talk about this water issue. But the real big consideration tonight is whether the borough wants to have more serious conversations about investigating a stormwater utility. The DEP has offered to come up here. Tenafly would host a meeting with mayors and council members from the other towns in the Northern Valley to start talking about this concept. Dan?
So, on the concept of stormwater utility, how many of our neighboring towns would we have to work with to solve this water flow problem? Like, who's affected in that?
So going
you know what I mean? Like,
backwards.
does it go?
Right, so going
does it go
backwards.
all the way down to
Backwards
Overpeck?
from the Overpeck, right? So The
Tina?
ocean is empty, so the Meadowlands empty into the ocean, Overpeck empty into the Meadowlands.
Teaneck,
So we're talking Leonia,
Oh.
Englewood, Tenafly at the minimum, both mayors of which are very interested in this.
Right.
They want to be part of the discussion. Cresco wants to be part of the discussion, Demarest, Closter,
Has to be Englewood Cliffs.
yeah, well, yeah, they all,
That's how
That whole
yes.
that runs down.
water, what's it called, a watershed?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, they call it a watershed.
So, I know that that feeds south into the Overpeck, but we have the Tenneco that feeds north. So I assume that's not feeding into the ocean. Do we know
Or
where
not.
that feeds and how many towns up that affects, where we would have to work going north? It's one thing to talk going south.
Or-
I think eventually it eventually goes back south to the same. Yeah,
Goes to the reservoir. Reservoir.
Right.
Oradell?
And
Oradell.
eventually
It
it goes,
doesn't go
yeah.
south. but
Right, goes to the
it
reservoir.
goes to the reservoir.
Eventually
but
goes
then
back.
that eventually goes south.
Yeah.
So eventually it
It's
goes
a big
south.
loop.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess, do we also have to be looking at the towns going north? Because if we address the Tenneco Brook and Cresskill doesn't, we're up the creek without a paddle.
I mean,
Good analogy.
technically, I think the mayor said it properly at the start. If it started at you, to do this, everybody south of you has to do it. Everybody north of you does not have to do it. They could, but they're gonna drain to you, so if you clean, they're already draining to you now, so if they drain you now and you clean your streams and you clean your culverts and
So,
pipes
but-
and that,
but-
it'll all go right through you.
But the Tenneco doesn't go south. It
That would
goes,
be one that you might not address, you might not need to address it.
and if we clean it out and Cresskill doesn't, as it's traveling north, I'm just wondering.
How do you know which creek to address? What, like, would there be a study of
Yeah, you'd
a
have to, I
water
mean, the
flow type?
watersheds are identified, so you'd identify the watershed and decide what version you want to do. The stormwater utility, under the DEP guidelines, they have guidelines for it. As you collect, it sets a board, utility board, as you collect a tax for stormwater, you have to have a way to evaluate it based on property size or impervious area size, however, there's ways to do it. You collect money, you're allowed to spend that money for stormwater improvements, so you can then spend that to do the study you need done. Spend it to set the utility up, spend it to work with other towns, you spend it towards stormwater, that's the only thing you spend it for is stormwater.
Yes, go ahead, Julie.
Hi, thank you for coming to also back up what the mayor summarized. I appreciate it. So I was just wondering on it seems to me when I was looking at it, point number one, this goes a little to your point. This stream cleaning permit with the DEP, it seems like out of all three things, the Blue Acres, the stormwater utility creation, and the stream cleaning permit, it seems like only one of them is an actionable thing that would bring relief in more of the short term. Am I correct in that?
So two would bring short-term relief. Towns like Pequannock, Compton Plains, Cranford, they've taken advantage of the Blue Acres, which is they find homes that get repeatedly flooded, or repetitive losses, we call it. They buy them, and that area along the stream now has more area to flood without flooding homes. That's instantaneous. You get the money and knock the home down, you pay the homeowner out, and that's good. The other one that's instantaneous is clearing and desnagging. If you clear and desnag your streams, which I'm generalizing means taking the big rocks, the fallen trees, the debris that fills over streams, if you remove that, which you're allowed to do without a permit, it's a general permit, you could see some generally relief right away because you're opening up your waterways at the width and length that they exist, their depth they exist now. So those two show immediate results.
So this stream cleaning permit, which he listed as number one, that's the clearing and desnagging? Okay, so it's not dredging or something, it's not an additional, okay, dredging.
Dredging's a much bigger project that will take years.
Just
The last-
wanted
The
to,
last real big dredging permit we received was the Cedar Brook in Rosella. It took 10 years to do the project, counting permits and everything.
so clearing to snagging, Blue Acres for repeatedly flooded areas. And if you could just, you were saying it rather quickly, this idea of creating a stormwater utility, if I understand this correctly, it's collecting money to have the ability to do what exactly?
So a stormwater utility allows a community, and I believe there's 14 states who now do this. New Jersey is not one of them. It allows a community inside a state to create a stormwater board, like a mayor and council would be appointed, you'd set up how you appoint it, a board that would collect a tax. They'd collect a tax for stormwater, whether it's property size, some states based on impervious area you have. Reason being, commercial will have more impervious than residential, so you know, that kind of balance. That's how you set it up. And once you collect this money, it would kind of be very similar to your tree fund or your open space fund. It would go into a fund and can be used, your open space fund is used for open space. Your tree fund is used for trees, your stormwater money is used for stormwater. You can use for anything you want that improves stormwater, whether it's a study, physical improvements, working with other towns to help them coordinate with you. It's anything that has to do with stormwater. The key part is you would set those guidelines. There are state guidelines to follow as a guide, but there's no state mandate, so you actually create it. The state would help you create it, so you can make it what you want it to be. The one thing I would warn you of, the money has to go for stormwater. So if you create a utility, it can't be, okay, we're gonna collect stormwater money and put it in our general fund and maybe use it. You can't do that.
So what's the negative of doing that?
You're collecting more tax money.
Tax.
I'd actually flip it the other way, maybe I missed it, the benefit.
What's the benefit of doing
Right.
that?
The benefit is you're gonna get, the states that have done it, this is like a little side note for Andy, I'm a floodplain manager, so I'm a certified floodplain manager license thing in New Jersey. It's a nationwide license. The states that have done it, and we've been at the conferences where they do it, it gives you the ability to do things like do a stream cleaning, a real stream cleaning, take stormwater pipes and upgrade them from 15 inches to 18 inches, replace a bridge and let an opening be bigger to allow more stormwater to go through it. It allows you to do physical work.
But just to make sure I'm understanding, I want to make a pipe bigger, it's going to cost $100. Having the stormwater management, it would make sense if you get a discount, you get matching funds, it's easier to win awards, there's better coordination across cities.
Not yet, there's.
Right.
Well,
So-
better coordination is one of them, that's the whole point of
That
it.
could be one of them.
In other
They're
words,
they're trying.
there would be no point in having a stormwater utility just for Tenafly.
No, agreed, but the challenge is, you guys know operations management, the whole idea is, one big pipe is better than thousands of small pipes. One of the challenges that I find is, we have 8,000 different funds that have 50 cents in each fund, but we can't use any of it because, you know, it's for a thing. So I would let's just double check if there's, if it makes things easier, I'm all for it. We all want to do it. Again, we all want to spend the $100 on the bigger pipe, but if this doesn't, yeah, so that's the way to figure it out. Else we just get money stuck in there.
Dan?
So can a county create one overlap for the whole county, Bergen County, for every municipality inside the county, for economies of scale?
I mean, I would, the answer, my short answer would be yes. The county could always jump in and do a stormwater utility and take it all over.
And
They have the authority to
just
do
have
that.
a giant board.
They have a giant board and they'd be collecting another county tax.
Then we're
But
online.
at economies of scale, it makes sense.
I think the mayor started off by saying he's trying to get this group of towns together. Adam's right in that if you create just for Tenafly,
Makes no sense.
there'll be some benefit, but it'll be
But
very
there's
minimal.
no
You're collecting a
there's
lot
no
of money,
point.
right? So if you collect a regional, if you do
Yes,
a
we
regional
know.
approach, it would be much better. If you do a county approach, it's obviously really good.
I'll have to talk to Jimmy.
Renew?
Can we collect from, building developers and construction type, instead of just going to the.
You
tax
can, you
base?
can pass, just like your tree ordinance or your open space tax, you can pass an ordinance that says, and create a development fee, and I'm not an attorney, Wendy, he'll jump in, but anytime somebody develops, you can collect so much off a development fee towards stormwater improvements and get a fund for it, but the dynamics legally.
To be fair, I've never looked at it. I think what Andy's referring to is similar to the process of where you collect development fees for affordable housing.
Correct.
At different percentages on residential or commercial property. However, the commercial property came out of state legislation. The residential is the ability to do so comes out of state legislation. So we'd have to look at it closely to see what enabling authority the council would have to pass such an ordinance.
Right, the only entity that does this now is the DOT gives towns authority to do it for traffic improvements. See, I've never seen it done for stormwater. I assume it can be done, but I've never seen it done for stormwater yet. It's like a development fee.
Yeah, from what I've heard more, and is more of the, what was being billed as the rain tax more
Right.
than development fee.
Correct.
Yes, Jeff?
All right, so two totally different things. One, to the point of DEP has agreed to visit us and meet with surrounding communities. If we have buy-in from surrounding communities to meet, I think it's a good meeting. So I think we should go forward with that. I think that will answer many of these questions that probably Andy is going, I don't know the answer to that because we haven't done
I'm
this.
not sure they know either, because it
Yeah.
hasn't been done yet.
But at least we can put them on the spot.
Yeah, the commissioner said that there is no stormwater utility. There's communities that are working on it, but there are none yet.
And there are a couple working on it.
So
They're working on it,
That was the first part.
Any sense of where they are, those communities? Do you have names off the
I
top
want
of
to say one of the communities leading this is Hoboken.
Ah,
Is what?
Hoboken.
Hoboken.
That
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
good
that's-
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
So-
one's easy.
So the other thing, I mean, all I'm hearing is this is not happening tomorrow. In fact, the day after tomorrow. We're gonna have, I don't know how many of these floods between now and then. So is it possible at least to get some recommendations of things that we could be looking at in terms of easy ordinances to at least, it's not gonna solve it, but to help? So for example, I know we have a tree ordinance, maybe a different approach, because the tree ordinance as it is not stopping clear cutting. Encouraging swales, things like that. I don't know what else. Those are two I've come across talking to people in the field, but those are quicker fixes.
The quickest fix you have is to try to accumulate dollars to clear and desnag all your streams. If you walk them, and we had talked about walking it, but there were some issues with that. We can still do that. You know, I was up by Bliss Avenue Culvert tonight, and if you walk 100 feet in either direction, there's stuff strewn throughout the stream. There's rocks or trees, or that all slows down and creates higher stormwater elevation.
So with that, the DEP I know is not a fan of equipment in the brook.
Nope.
So how do we get around, since all of that stream that you're talking about is backyards and side yards of private properties, I mean, can we get in there without ripping everything to shreds?
You can, but you have the same problem every other town has. You don't own your stream or the area adjacent to your stream, so those homeowners would have to let you on, and then you have to restore their property when you're done. You have to do it from the bank.
Yeah, no, I'm very, very familiar with that process.
But that's
So
part of the cost.
Oh, yeah, there's more cost in restoration than there is in removing the material. Once
So-
you get the material out, you still have to put it somewhere. Most of the material is just big rocks and trees. That's most of it, and there's garbage, obviously.
So there's just no way that DEP will let us take something up the stream and clear it from?
Technically, no.
That's a question.
Isn't that all, that answer is
That would
part of the
be-
permitting process though, right?
Right, it's possible you can go to the DEP and ask for permission to do that. So if you had a scoped project, you could say, we want to come on at the Bliss Avenue Bridge and go south to the next bridge. And we want to just walk in the stream during a low water event, middle of August, and do this clearing and snagging, and they could give you the permission to do that.
Okay. No, it's good to know.
I think Lauren was next and then Vanu.
We spoke about making the utility a couple years ago, and the big issue, of course, was that other towns didn't want to impose a tax and the appearance of the tax. So the Pulse was very much against this concept. Now you are saying a couple more people are on board, and you and I had always said, Tenafly would be the only one doing this one. So can you give me sort of the lay of the land right now, what you're hearing from people? Obviously, everyone is paying attention to the rain, the amount of rain. How do we convince other municipalities that this is a good thing to fund for?
So at the end of this month, I have yet another floodplain manager conference in Atlantic City, which the DEP will be at, and this is a topic every year.
Yeah.
I'm an engineer, not a politician. Whenever we talk about tax, it gets politicized. And the
Yes.
frustration from the DEP that I hear is one party politicizes it the right way, one party politicizes it the other way. And they do it just because they want to change parties in elections. So it's not about, in the engineering world, if you give money to stormwater improvements, you'll make an improvement.
Right.
It's just getting the money for it. I mean, that's why the county level is a lot easier, because the county just institutes a tax, they pass it, nobody even shows up at county meetings, and now you have all this money being raised.
So that was my second question. So doing it on a countywide basis, my fear is that a town like Tenafly will not be at the forefront of stormwater management. So we pay our money into the county, our residents get hit with the county tax, and then we're, 70th on a list of 70 to get our work done. So
So
how,
what they'd say, let's use Bergen County for a second. Bergen County collects the county tax, and they pave roads. If you look at the way, and I'm just speaking Bergen County, if you look at the way Bergen County does it, they're pretty much equally throughout all the towns.
Yes.
They don't look at a town as an RD, they go, we have this road schedule, and they go right across the county and pave them equally, so.
Just like open
It's not
space.
Right, and I assume, they do the same thing in open space, it's another good point. I would assume Bergen County, which has done it right with more than one thing, would do the same thing in this case. Why wouldn't they? They're gonna look at the biggest problems they have and try to fix them.
They'll probably regionalize by watershed.
Right.
They'll have the manpower, the
okay, that's encouraging.
equipment.
Yeah, I would, in Bergen County, I think it would work great.
Yeah.
Other counties maybe not, so Bergen County would work great.
Mark, I'll try to get a meeting with Tedesco, with you. I'll try to loop you in on it.
And I was talking to, I think it was somebody from Fairlawn, one of the governing body members, and they were saying that they have a flooding situation on one of their, intersections, and they're putting in one of these bowls. Does that make sense? Because there are certain places where we're seeing, an accumulation, so certain streets where that is from. Under those streets, does it make sense to put in something?
You could, so you can, there's, people look at a number of different solutions. One is building some entire detention system under the street. There's a project right now in Hoboken that's pretty well along and almost done, where they put in like 1 million gallons of storage under the street. It will make an impact. Will it make an impact for a 100-year storm? No. Will it make an impact for a 2 or a 10-year storm? Yeah. And those small storms cause a lot of havoc in Hoboken because of the way the dynamics of that street and roof runoff is. It's something you need to engineer as you go. Some towns that have more space are looking at building flood overflow areas along their streams. So they'll build big areas where it can overflow and flood that area and not flood homes. So there is ways to do it. It just takes money.
I guess it's just a combination of a number of different
Correct.
things together.
The more you put in, the more it holds water. There's no doubt. It's volume. It's a volume problem, is what it is.
Other questions from council members? So it sounds like we have a consensus to, the first step is conducting a meeting with other municipalities, officials, and bringing the state up to talk about the idea of a stormwater commission.
I think Dan's right. I would include the county in that meeting.
Right, well, of
I
course
would
we're going
invite
to include the
Jim.
county, yeah.
Jim Tedesco is a big supporter of this stuff.
Yeah.
I think he'd be a great ally for it.
Okay.
Can we, at any point right now, do any of the clearing and desnagging of our own town?
You can.
What are the costs of that? Do we have any costs?
Off the top of your head.
Manpower, machinery, so you don't really have the machinery. So you need the machinery. And then once you get the material out, you have to dispose of it, but you have to get to it, is the issue we talked about.
You gotta get approval from every
Homeowner.
So I don't want to own the machinery. Is there any way to rent, lease?
Economies of
borrow?
scale, go with the county.
Right, so in the late 80s and 90s, Bergen County Soil Conservation had all these machines. So they had a dozen of them, and they had people that manned them and went and cleaned streams all the time. And what had happened was there was this convergence between the town, soil conservation, and the DEP. And the DEP felt soil conservation went too far, the towns felt soil conservation didn't go far enough, and this battle ensued, and the clearing and the snagging got pushed to bigger projects, and it all got shut down. The Bergen County Soil Conservation pulled out. They said, we're not doing this. We're not battling the DEP and the town at the same time. And about by 96, 97, it was gone. Right after Hurricane Floyd, they killed the whole program.
Well, that's a shame.
I heard
I
it.
assume that's not cheap.
I think let's have this first meeting.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
this
we go
is
from
the
there.
Perfect example of multiple cities. Wow, if only we had a county that oversaw cities. Like, this is like picture perfect.
Okay, all right, so we'll move forward with that, thank you. So Andy, don't go away yet. So we're gonna
Wait,
be,
there's more.
we're gonna be walking in a resolution. It's gonna be R 23-407 regarding a Department of Transportation grant for Highwood. So Andy, could you talk about that? Do you wanna come up and talk about that? also?
Susan?
Yeah, Susan?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you had.
'Cause there's a money
we had
question.
bids for Highwood to do generally about half of Highwood.
Right.
We estimated that price being about $500,000. The bid came in a little over $300,000, which was a really good price. We had done an alternate to do the rest of it. The alternate came out just a little over $200,000, so your overall price was just over 5, plus engineering fees puts it over 6. You have a really good bid for this price. We would recommend doing it all. Susan and I met. She, I think at this point, has found adequate money throughout a lot of other ordinances for roads to do
This is for
the
roads.
base plus the alternate. I would award it all. I will tell you, you need to award at least the base tonight because the deadline to award it is over before your next meeting.
And to add, we apologize for walking this on tonight, but we received the bids on Thursday following the, trying to follow aggressive timeline for, in line with the DEP, with the DOT.
How's asphalt pricing right now?
On this bid, good. It's not getting, it's, unfortunately, with what's happening overseas, those prices are gonna skyrocket. It's not gonna get better, and there's no short-term solution. At least that's what the predictions are.
Should we be planning like a major intersection? Should we be planning, what are you thinking here?
So all I can do is control this bid, and I would say you got a really good price. I would take this bid now, because when contractors bid a job, they lock their price with the asphalt. The asphalt company can't raise it. So it's locked in. Anything that's not bid now will follow the new pricing index.
So keep in mind, 206,000 of this is, $206,000 is being reimbursed to us by the DOT, which is why we're working on their deadline schedule.
Right.
I mean, we usually spend somewhere between 1 and 1.5 at least on this project.
No, it's
No,
not,
this-
that.
this is outside.
No, this is DOT.
This is not the DOT.
This is DOT, not roadside cooperative.
Oh,
This is
I'm
in
sorry.
addition to,
In addition.
separately.
Oh,
Correct.
never mind.
And it's monies you have in older ordinances that wasn't spent, so it's not as if you're repurposing, you're just taking money from road projects and using it for road projects.
And you don't recommend micro
Not here.
servicing and fixing on this?
Nope.
Okay.
And this would be done when, this work?
So it's awarded, well, no, not necessarily. This contractor is, if the weather holds, he's going to do this job. So there's some concrete work to be done, he'll start it. If it doesn't, it'll be done this spring. He has between now and next spring to do it.
Right.
We just have to make sure, I know nothing about this, but isn't the whole reason why some of our roads don't work is because it has to be, 500 degrees, it's only 300, and that's why it cracks early. So let's just not,
Rush it.
God knows,
We're not-
I've never said this before, let's not rush it and then find out that it has to be ruined.
We are not rushing this job, so it will not be rushed. It's just to get it awarded because DOT, we have to award it based on DOT. They have till the end of next spring to finish it.
Yep. Thank you.
Nice.
So the ask for tonight from the council is consideration of award of the base plus the alternate.
And so that is going to be, my numbers are right, R23-407.
And that's,
And,
Yes.
Andy, how does this compare to what was proposed? Yeah, maybe if Susan can come up?
This one, I don't have the resolution.
What's the question?
The amount that's in the resolution.
335
So-
and 212.
So the total's 547, 926.
That still works, right?
How does it
The only
compare to
thing you
what was
don't have in
proposed?
front of you.
The original house.
You originally put aside 500 for what is the base bid. That was the original estimate, and now the
Could
base
pass
plus
you
the
that.
alternate is coming in at 547 and change.
Right, the only thing you'll have in front of you, which you'll get next meeting, is the inspection proposal, which is based on the amount of work you ordered. So you'll have that next week. The money's there.
Yeah, we spoke to Bob.
Sure.
I'm
Perfect.
good with it, Andy. Thank you
All right.
for walking
Any other
it.
questions on that? Everybody's good?
Anything else, Randy?
I think that's it for Andy, right? Okay, thank you, appreciate you being here tonight.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Standing there.
Okay, the next and last item to be considered is the awarding, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, of the engineers, Brightview and/or Boswell. Does anyone have any opinions on this? Jeff, go ahead. You want to give a summary for the public, and then we'll take questions? Let's do that.
So just as a summary for the public, the borough went out for professional services under a fair and open process and put bids out for a traffic engineer. There was 2 responses that were received. Both are in compliance, or found to be compliant with the request for proposals. And so now the governing body would be discussing whether to award at all, to award to one, the other, or potentially both.
Jeff, you had your hand up first, I believe.
Yeah, so I know that, was it the state, the Turnpike Authority often uses two?
So,
And maybe you can talk a bit about the
Yes,
pluses and minuses of that?
So I do have a lot of experience working with both local and state entities on roadway projects, and oftentimes, there will be one engineer who does design, and then another engineer that does oversight, almost as a checks and balance. So there is discussion of awarding professional services to two entities, so that there could be a checks and balance if the council so wishes, if and when a project moves forward.
And that doesn't really change the overall cost that we'd be paying, because you're either paying one engineering firm to do both, or you're paying two.
True, and it also gives you the option to solicit, so just to be clear, the resolutions, whether it's for one, the other, both, they're all to appoint engineers, not to award contracts for certain projects. Any projects would come forward to the council in the future, and if you have more than one, similar to how you have multiple professionals for things, you could potentially just solicit estimates from both and then decide who's gonna do what, based on cost as well.
But then we would be bound to using either one of the two in all cases for the purposes.
Well, for the time being, unless you wanted to award to another traffic engineer in the future under an open and fair process with another bid, or even under a non-fair and open process.
Well, what I mean is, we've got Brightview and Boswell. If we do, if we take both, then we would be, we can't then go out to
Oh, you absolutely could. Mhm. Professional services, just how it's for your engineers, your attorneys, architects. You could decide to add a resolution and do a non-fair and open appointment at any time of another firm.
So then what's the value of doing this at this point? Why do we need to choose an engineer?
Because you have to choose someone at some point. If you don't like what you see moving forward, you can always choose someone else. But unless you have a resolution appointing, then you can't solicit the projects later.
I mean, we can't do it as a project and then go out to bid or.
I mean, it's the first step in the process. So we do the first step in the process.
In this case, it's an as needed as opposed to, kind of going out individually. When we come to an as needed project, then we go out.
So if I'm understanding correctly, because I'm getting a little confused, I think what you're asking me, and tell me if I'm wrong, is what is the benefit of appointing professionals in advance?
For this particular, situation.
Well, this situation is no different than having labor council. It's just a professional. It's the same thing. The benefit of having someone on hand is that if a project comes in tomorrow, at your next meeting, you can have a resolution to consider whether or not you want to do a project. Whereas if not, then you'd be appointing someone, entering into a contract, and then waiting to then consider a project in the future. So it's almost,
Julie,
it's an
you're next.
on-call.
Julie?
Yeah, I wanted to ask your recommendation with this because you mentioned about the idea of two companies, one could kind of check the other. But I just wanted to know your opinion because is it possible that that makes it murkier or possibly more expensive for a borough? Or because like you have, kind of mixed messaging, anything like that? What do you think is the most efficacious way?
In my experience, it's never more expensive to have two options. It's
Okay.
generally going to provide you with a better understanding of, are you being upcharged or is this a consistent charge?
Okay.
Because you do have a rate per hour for different personnel that was included in the responses, but there may be other personnel moving forward that weren't listed, et cetera. I would equate it to when you all have asked for engineering estimates and perhaps wanted a second opinion on Colliers, so you have another engineer that is already appointed under a non-fair and open that you can reach out to and ask for other opinions because you already have them on an on-call basis. It's the same thing. We're just looking it into people that are qualified as traffic engineers rather than global engineering firms.
Yes, Vinay.
Isn't Colliers a traffic engineer as well? I mean, you know, they have a lot of competencies. Isn't one of their competencies traffic engineering?
So I don't know how to respond to that. I haven't looked, I mean, Colliers has expanded substantially since they were Mazers, et cetera, but I can tell you that they did not respond to this bid.
That was, they didn't respond to it. It was open to them, so.
But they do have a
Yeah.
traffic engineering team that they did respond to.
What I mean is, as our borough engineer, can't we just, you know, automatically, you know, ask them to do the? They didn't want to do it.
Yeah,
No.
we could, but they didn't show any interest in it. They don't want to be part of it.
We asked them, and
Right.
they weren't interested in responding.
I'm saying it's individual projects, not as an.
Yeah, there's no need for them to
say,
respond,
And
Yeah.
a specific
They already have,
project,
yeah.
we want them to look into it or consider it.
You could, but again, they also could have responded. You know, I'll note when you went under the traffic engineering consulting services RFP back earlier in the year, I don't believe they responded then either.
But I don't know, you know, I'm not sure what was in their head, but they're, you know, they're already the engineer, so maybe they thought we don't need to also
We can't
do an
assume.
as needed.
Yeah, they had no interest in the project, the specifics of this project. So
It's not
we
a
can't get in,
what's in their
we
head.
don't need to answer their question. I mean, that's a question for them, why they didn't respond, not for us.
I certainly have never
Yeah.
spoken to them about it.
Yeah, yeah. Any other questions? So it kind of sounds like everyone's leaning towards appointing both?
So, I just wanted to, again, say, Wendy, the fact that we can bid them off each other and they would have to compete to get each project, I love it. So I think that's a.
It's not bidding, it's estimates.
Fine,
Right.
but I think that holds them both accountable. I think that holds our costs better for our residents, and we get the work done. And we did say, you know, that each met the criteria.
Correct, they both fulfilled the criteria in the RFPs.
So essentially, I make the recommendation and the council votes.
Correct, just like any other professional, it's a mayoral appointment with the advice and consent of council.
Okay.
So that's why, not knowing what anyone's gonna want and, you know.
Right. All right, so I'm
drafted
gonna,
three different resolutions for you.
I'm going to recommend that we appoint Brightview Engineering and Boswell as our professional traffic engineering organizations.
So assuming the council's amenable to that, which you will find out, there is a resolution that would be added on as R 23-407.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 408, 407 was added.
So
And
can I
it
get
would
a,
be voted on at that time,
what's the number?
408.
408. Could I get a motion to approve resolution R 23-408?
You know, we don't approve it now.
No, it's
Oh,
gonna be
okay.
moved
Okay, so
later.
do we ask for a consensus or anything?
Consensus to put it on the agenda.
Can I get a consensus to put it on the agenda?
Yes.
So,
So
Dan,
moved. So
Jeff,
moved.
Lauren, Banu? Okay, Adam,
Yes.
Julie? Okay, we have a consensus to put it on the agenda.
And,
Thank you.
and for those listeners, this is for all of the traffic work that we hope to do downtown.
And I
Thank
should
you to
also
the
note,
council.
it's a one-year appointment. Professional
Yes.
services can only be for 1 year.
Okay.
Very excited about this project.
Yeah,
Excited to
well.
get it started.
Long time coming. Okay. Thank you for everyone's work on this. Next on the agenda, administrator's report.
Yeah, happy to take any questions. It's a very brief report. It was actually prepared, the spinner and sign were ready and installed at the time of the last meeting, which I wasn't here, so we wanted to make sure that was communicated to the council. So we're very excited. I think everyone, from what I heard, was happy with with how the sign looks. It's a good, you know, maybe a good
New
design for.
Froggy Park sign?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the sign and the
Good.
spinner. Yep, I saw people using it this morning on the way in, so hopefully that's a good design for the other parks as well.
Thank you for driving.
Of course.
All right, so that was it for your administrator's report,
Yes.
right? So why don't you...
Sorry, quick
Oh, sorry,
question.
go ahead,
I
Jeff.
have a bunch of questions for you.
I don't have a bunch, I just have an update on where we are with the roof of the Elizabeth Cady Stanton Station.
Yeah, the materials are being ordered to begin the project, so we're waiting for the materials to come in. I'll follow up with Barton and the contractor just to see if he has an estimated timeline for
Hopefully before winter.
yeah.
So while we're talking about roofs, why don't we talk about...
Wait, before we get into it, can I ask a different admin question?
different roof question, but just ask this, answer this
all
one
right.
roof question.
Go to the roofs and then,
How to go about
got
it.
it.
We're gonna go right to your question.
Yeah,
Roofs.
so, in regards to the library roof, we had the contract was executed, and, we had a pre-construction meeting yesterday, just because we wanted to have one as soon as possible, and, to ensure that the work gets done ASAP. And, they were actually on the roof this morning. They will begin, Thursday, actually mobilizing and, in some of the removal and demo work and, that whole project with the roof, the replacement.
Is the library closed during that
No,
time?
No,
There's
they will.
different movements going on, but they're
Yeah.
not fully closed.
They will not be fully closed. The biggest, maybe one of the biggest disruptions they'll have is when they get to the portion of the roof over the entry. But when they get to that point with advance notice, they will use the entry through the McCandless room to accommodate.
That's the kids' library area?
The front entrance.
Front entrance.
Use
No,
the
I thought you said like the area, yeah.
Julie Morallo has been included
Involved,
in
yeah.
the pre-construction calls,
Right.
all the details of what's going on.
When was that starting, did you say?
They were here today, but they will actually start doing construction most likely this Thursday. They're going to start mobilizing very quickly.
Great.
Okay,
Now it's
so
your turn.
Yeah.
the big one that I have is the TNC grant. We were in the process of applying. What is the status? Nature Center was,
Applying for another grant or the status of the grant that they've received?
no, the one that, we were doing a matching. Weren't they also applying for a second grant too? The
Not that
ADA
I'm-
Pathways?
No, that's a grant that we're already awarded.
Good, so you know this, okay.
Right, yes.
There you go.
They're dealing with the state. They haven't, from the last time I spoke with them, they haven't received the contract yet for the grant. But
Okay.
everything's moving forward. We're in contact with the county steward. I had a conference call about probably 3 weeks now.
Okay.
With the folks at Nature Center and with DEP, and we're getting everything in line so that there will be likely a new lease coming to the council soon. Perhaps even to be introduced by ordinance at the next meeting, but we're moving concurrently with the state, who is taking a little bit of their time on the contract stuff.
That's fine, as long as we're on top on our end, that's all I want to make sure. And then
Yes.
small housekeeping things. Did we ever add additional water filler, bottle filler, the water fountains?
No, I asked Mike to propose a plan just because we haven't budgeted for anything beyond what's been done. So I asked him to be able to get quotes for next year's budget.
The lights downtown, the lamps and the
Mm.
light posts. I know we've changed the lamps to the LED. Are all of the lamp posts now working? Anything electrical outstanding? And has all the painting of the posts been done?
So the painting, they've done most of the base of the poles on the standard light poles. The traffic light poles, which are much larger, they're going to try and work on that. We've had a little bit of bad luck with the rain over the weekends because they've been doing that on overtime, and that's a little bit more labor intensive as you have to get on a bucket truck and to be able to paint those poles. But they've been working at it, and they've been on the smaller the 8-foot poles.
So I got numerous calls on another one. Sunnyside bathrooms, municipal field bathrooms have been not upkept according to a schedule. Myself included, I've walked into the bathrooms, the toilets are overflowing. There's no turned on water. I couldn't wash my hands. There was no toilet paper. I mean, they're not sanitary. They're used all week and weekends right now for numerous sports. That needs to be scheduled, like triple during the week. I don't know what it needs to be, but when we have a team playing and they come out and say, we can't wash our hands and we can't use the facilities, that's a big problem.
Yeah, there was, on that front, there was an unknown plumbing issue because they were working on the plumbing issue, and then it was supposed to be turned back on, I'm not sure exactly what happened then. But of course, in terms of the conditions of the bathrooms, that message has been conveyed, and I'll make sure to convey that again.
I got it both times.
The Muni Field.
Oh,
No, Sunnyside also.
Because
No, understood, but-
I just want to say that Sunnyside, on last Saturday, it was the bathroom doors were locked, and I was
Yeah.
I thought there was supposed to be open when there were games there. So,
They're locked, there's no water, so anyway,
like,
this
that's-
is,
that's
I'll make sure.
we are definitely better than that. I mean, that's like basics.
Aren't we also
And
short-staffed
so,
on that front?
And then any more things in Hyler in terms of ordering
Yeah.
anything, garbage, flowers, flower things, any,
Ordering garbage?
I'm sorry, garbage
Pay extra
cans,
for that.
garbages, anything outstanding in that budget?
In that budget, I would have to look, but I don't think so, because I think we've used those
We've
funds
used
for
all
the
the funds.
benches.
Okay. It's my housekeeping, thank you.
Okay.
But you will be happy to know,
We with the Little League
this
field
was
now?
one of your pet projects. The lighting is all set, we have all the new lighting, and it should be up Thanksgiving.
We know
So,
this.
I'm excited.
brand new lights.
Listen, took me 6 years, but
It's-
yeah.
It actually spells out Lauren.
One more item.
I'll ask
With the
Wendy later.
fairness, hearing, please.
So, as the council's aware, we went back and brought you an amended settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing on your affordable housing. This amended agreement clarifies that now the lots that were south of the Clinton Inn obviously aren't going to be producing residential units because we're anticipating instead a minimum of 10 or 11 affordable, Medicaid beds for assisted living to be as part of that assisted living project. And as this council has approved in the past, there was the extra lot over on Turpentine to increase what's hoped to be the United Way project over there, and it's going to be family units instead of special needs units, expanded, whatnot. All of that was incorporated into an amended settlement. Your planning board is going to be holding a public hearing on the 25th of October on that amended Housing Element Fair Share Plan. It was presented at fairness hearing last Thursday to the court, and everything went swimmingly. Your Affordable Housing Council at Buzak did a great job. Your planner gave testimony. The court approved it, and so now we're off to the races. You'll be seeing a couple of zoning-type ordinances at the next meeting that'll be introduced. Then it'll go to the planning board for consistency, and hopefully you all will consider adopting it in November, and you will be ready for your compliance hearing and be off to the races again for construction.
got it.
Great, that's wonderful news.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great job by the whole
Yep.
team.
Okay. That's it for the administrator's report. All right, next we're going to move on to correspondence from Madeline Moscone about erecting the annual Christmas creche at Highland Park. Anyone have any questions about this?
Can we, when we do this, light the tree up,
Well, yes, they're going to be part of it. She's got the Boy Scouts.
decorating a
They're
tree?
going to be decorating the trees and the bandstand.
Excellent.
Everyone good, right? Okay, so Omar will let Ms. Moscone know that.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right, now it's time for public comments. Audience members wishing to speak will have a 3-minute time limit to address the governing body on items on the agenda. Large groups are requested to have a spokesperson represent them. Is there anyone here in the audience who would like to speak, please? Come up to the microphone. How you doing, Tom?
Good evening, Tom Giordano, 12 George. I'm here concerning flooding and the stormwater runoff. Most of the rainwater and runoff in Tenafly flows north, doesn't flow south. You get roughly Knickerbocker Road east, Engle Street west, all flows to the Tennakill Brook with that. And another thing with brooks, the brook that runs under the Marlboro Apartments, on the center of town, that starts on Walnut Park. I don't know if anybody's aware of that, but it all, it all feeds in there. There's a couple of comments. The Board of Ed plans a big referendum coming up next year. Part of it is improve the fields behind the high school. I would assume they'd have to raise it up a number of feet. Right now, that acts as a floodplain when it rains. So I don't know, that's just gonna push more water into people's properties. Now, the gentleman's report, does that have a written report we can look at, or
The
engineer,
engineer's
is there
report
anything that,
regarding what he was talking about with the stormwater utility?
yes, things like that, yes.
Right, so he doesn't have a report about that in the sense that he was here to give the council, comments on
Okay.
the meeting I had with the commissioner of the DEP. key.
Okay.
So the next steps on that is we're going to hold a meeting with mayors and council members from this area to kind of start that conversation. So that's really in its embryonic state. So
Okay.
there's no report yet.
Okay.
Because there's no, it's in conversation mode.
Okay. Okay, that's about it, but if you're gonna form any kind of committee or anything, you need volunteers, I'm willing to add my
Oh,
two
great,
cents.
okay. In terms of stormwater?
Yes.
All
Yeah,
right,
definitely.
absolutely, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Wonderful. Be careful what you ask for.
Yeah.
Because you're the first one to ask. Writing that down. Okay. All right, anyone else from the chambers who would like to speak? Okay. Omar, is there anyone out on Zoom that would like to speak? Anyone like to speak? You can speak up now.
See no hands, Mayor.
No one? Okay, we're going to close public comment and move on to the consent agenda. Are there any questions or resolutions from the council, R23-374 through R23-401?
I want to pull three
Okay, I saw Lauren's hand first. Which three do you want to pull?
for separate votes. All three developer agreements.
Which?
R23-375, R23-394, and R23-396.
375, 394, and
396.
6.
And I would like the two members of the planning board to explain all the waivers. And, on the last one, we waived a site plan requirement. I mean, this is not
Well,
vote well with me.
396 Best Break Sports, isn't that the pickleball court?
That's
Aren't those
the
the indoor pickleball?
It doesn't matter what it is. I'd like to hear about each individually.
So I'll go backwards with Best Break Sports.
Wait, can we, yeah, do the consent order,
Okay,
and then
all
then
right.
I want a
Okay, and
discussion.
Vanu, what was your question?
The same thing.
The same thing, okay. So I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve R23-374, R23-376 through R23-393, R23-395, R23-397 through R23-401.
So moved.
Got a second?
Second.
Omar, call the roll.
Councilmember Dayton?
Yes, and I just want to say the amount of tree escrow refunds that are being kept by the borough and not replanted on the property is very devastating.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yeah.
Councilmember Park?
Oh, yes.
You right there, Dan?
Yes, I'm good.
So, you want to do it one by one?
Well, yeah,
Let's
we can't
do-
do them all three at the same time, right?
375.
So 375,
So this is a developer's agreement for the old Friendly's place.
Yes.
They want to put a medical building here on 114 County Road. And this says essentially that some waivers and variances were given by the planning board. So I'd like to hear about this because I don't understand why we're getting all sorts of, waivers to each of these properties. So go ahead.
well, so the,
Whichever
I
one.
mean, so what's going on there is they're taking the existing building, taking the roof off and putting a second story.
The construction has already happened and
Right.
started. So let me ask you this question. So I was there today.
Right.
Why would a construction start already if this isn't passed by the council?
So the developer's agreement, this is different than a redevelopment agreement. This is put in place more to give oversight to the professionals and also to put into place the accounts for the escrows. So there's site work that can be initiated prior to a developer's agreement.
And again, why do we as a borough allow the work to start before all of this, including money in escrow, is fixed?
So I will admit that, this isn't my purview, this is planning board. The developers' agreements are drafted by your planning board attorney, but I can tell you from my experience, there is the ability to do certain site work, and you'll need this in place before any inspections can be made. So once they hit a point, usually where, maybe they I'm making things up here, but let's say they needed an inspection before they can move on to point B, that's where this needs to be in place already, not necessarily pre-anything.
So it was only granted preliminary approval, but again, that's subject to this, that the mayor and council passed this tonight. And again, when I drove past Friendly's, the roof is gone, wrecking balls are there, landscaping's getting torn up already.
Well, I guess, you know.
So demo
from-
work can move
it can
forward,
move
you
forward.
can't
That's
start
how
building.
the process works. I mean, and also, in terms of, because you asked about planning board members speaking up to it, there was no reason not to approve this. It's a great project. It's going to.
I don't care what it is, I care how it's being done. Does that make
Well, then
sense?
that's
Whether I
that's
like Friendly's or a
Right,
medical
right.
building is irrelevant to this discussion.
Right.
And
So
truthfully,
that's
I
a-
like ice cream, but yes.
Well, Friendly's was gone already.
I know, I'm kidding around clearly, but my point is that we have a developers agreement here, and it says with certain variances and waivers. My question for Jeff and the mayor, sorry, Councilman Grossman and the mayor, is someone please tell me what those were and why they were granted.
That's a whole great question. I don't have records of the planning board meetings with this.
Yeah,
here.
those should
Well, I don't
be
want
in
to
the
pass this
planning
not
board.
Well, then
knowing,
we'll have a vote, because we don't, the council typically doesn't do a secondary review of the intricacies of the details of the planning board. That's the
Right,
planning board's.
I'm trying to remember, because I don't have that in front of me right
Right.
now. My recollection is that it had to do with some, just number of parking spots that are for that size
Because the
and
second
type of
floor was
building.
mostly
This-
open, it wasn't going to be
Right.
individualized offices.
Right, and
Right.
so whether or not, the variance was really for the number of parking spots, that building is pre-existing,
Right.
and they weren't changing anything except going up, and when you go up, that actually adds a greater need under the formula for parking. And there were more than enough spots there for the kind of offices that they're putting in.
can I
Yeah,
just,
no, but specifically about the parking.
So that's that portion of it. So your question about the work, they can't start building
It can demo.
until this step, but they can level the property if they want to. Yeah, so, and we couldn't, that's neither the council nor the planning board in that case saying anything about leveling the property. You have a right to pretty much do that once you buy it.
so I do think that this is a medical building that's now becoming bigger, and I appreciate that it won't have a complete second floor medical, but when I go to the doctor, I'm in a waiting room with 5 people. When there's numerous medical offices now within this building, which is what I'm understanding it will become, it's not just one doctor,
No,
the whole
it's
building?
one business. I mean, we're
It's-
getting into the intricacies of how
Right.
it's
Again.
one
Correct.
organization.
It's a
Yeah.
doctor who's going to have the entire, one practice will have the first floor. And the proposal is for possibly another practice to have part of the second floor.
Correct.
So you're talking 2 practices in this building, probably. And it's actually someone who's nearby, moving from Englewood to here.
I
So
just,
if you go to page 3,
I just want to make sure that we
Yes.
are,
there's a parking shortfall of 1 space. So they got a variance for 1 parking space.
Otherwise, they don't have to go before anybody, really.
Yeah. Because they're not changing the footprint of the building.
And it was a permitted use.
So the developer agreement was just for that one space?
Well, the developer
Well,
agreement is for the oversight of the.
The oversight, the expansion upward.
Inspections.
Right, for all of them, right.
okay?
When they build up and put in electric and plumbing and all that needs inspection.
Medical
Yes.
building was a permitted use.
Pardon me?
Medical building was a permitted
It's a
use.
permitted use.
Okay, so let's go to 394.
You know,
394, if I remember correctly, they're adding a floor for storage.
Now, this is the car
Yes.
dealership, it's not a dealership, excuse me.
No, it's a car storage facility.
Car storage facility.
High-end cars.
Yes. This is near homes. This is behind,
This is on Piermont Road. This is right behind Piermont.
no, this is on County. This opens onto County. I drive past this every day.
About a different building.
Maybe it goes all the way between the two, Mayor, but it's mostly on County.
It's across from the Blue Oil.
Not the Lukoil.
So
It's the
what's-
big white one. it's like catty corner to the Blue Club.
I don't think this is the car one.
This is not the car.
It's not the car one, this is a different one.
That one's
No,
locked up.
this is, the 255 County Road is a large white car, whatever it is, whatever they're using it for cars. It's a big, industrial-looking, white building.
No, this is for the laser store.
It's right next to
Yeah.
Wolfgang's.
Yes.
It's right next to where like the old Mercedes is in its private, its singular showroom.
Yes.
It's that building.
It's on County Road, on
Right,
County,
yeah,
yes.
they're adding, it's another,
So,
they do
I'm saying,
repair,
there's homes directly across the street from it.
but directly across the street,
It's a gas
there's a
station.
car dealership and a gas station.
No, on the other side,
Catty corner.
on the other side.
What do you mean the other side?
Goes further away.
Catty corner from that would be our homes.
Okay,
Yes.
so what's your question?
I'm just saying that by building 3 stories up, we change the light and air of those homes. So why are we giving a waiver here?
Well, let's see, I'm not sure if we did, we have to read it.
This says we did.
The tenant
This
is.
is variances and waivers.
Following variances, parking driveway, 3 feet 0, one loading front yard, rear yard, number of parking spaces.
Opposite side of the street.
So I'm not seeing anything for height here.
3 is permitted in that zone.
Yeah, 3 is permitted.
3 is,
Yep.
it's
Three
already
is
not at the
permitted.
40 feet.
It's,
What's it now?
I don't remember how many feet, but it
What's the
wasn't
question, Jeff?
exceeding.
What?
It's not exceeding the number of feet permissible or the number of stories.
So
Right, the
it's
setback-
very,
That wasn't the
1.5,
issue.
2.
so listen,
It's a
the
small building.
difficulty of reading these developers agreements sitting here is that I don't know what's discussed, so I'm asking these
So then
questions.
you need to go to planning board meetings for the
No,
details.
but-
No, but that's not,
But all
I have a
these-
liaison to the planning board meetings
So here you
too.
go, on page 5 are all the setbacks, okay, the variances. for
I
the
don't
set-
have that.
But, sure you do, you have it in front of you. The setbacks are all pre-existing conditions of the main outline of the building, and they're adding to the 3rd floor. So they're not making it any different than it is now. And they're, as Jeff said, it is zoned for a 3rd floor there.
Okay.
So even if a applicant makes an application and there's pre-existing conditions, they need variances, even though the existing conditions are there.
The building next door is 3 floors.
Right. And the next one,
The next one, which is the conversion
This is,
from
this-
a warehouse to pickleball, that
Retro
is strictly
fitness.
parking.
yeah,
It's already
that's
exists.
pickleball.
Why are we waiving site plan requirements?
Because the building is already there. and
They're not,
the
they're not
existing-
touching the building.
They're not, they're
They're
keeping
not
the
touching the
building.
building, it's all inside.
Okay.
The exterior of the building, the roof, everything is.
It's gonna
the
stay
same.
as is? Very interesting.
Right, the outside of the building is staying as is. That's
They're
correct.
literally taking a warehouse building
Mm-hmm.
and drawing the line, redoing the floor and drawing lines for pickleball court.
Got it.
The big issue there was the adequacy of parking.
Thank you. Thank you for the answers. I wanted to know them
Do they
before
have
I
enough?
asked this.
There you have it.
Barely.
Okay.
Like passing these developer agreements without knowing could be considered, I am not at the planning board.
And I think one of the problems, because I do report when we vote on these, and the time lag between that and this portion of the process. So
It could be
I
2
do-
months easily.
I do try and
Yeah.
say what we've passed and what the votes were. I do try and do that, and I will endeavor to memorize it better so that when the question comes up.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay.
I didn't feel
Yes.
like I understood the issues enough. I don't like passing a resolution without it.
I certainly understand, that's why I'm happy to
Thank you
answer.
for the
All right,
answers, and
so
that's my polls.
we've all said thank you enough to each other now? Okay, okay, can I get a motion to approve resolutions R 23-375, R 23-394, and R 23-396, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second,
Omar, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yeah.
Councilmember Park.
Yep.
Okay, are there any questions about resolutions R 23-402 through R 23-408? Yes, Vanu.
Just on R 23-406, can we get an understanding of what the, is this all the boilers? I mean,
Right,
because originally it was just the boilers.
No, so this is an entirety project, and the change order is necessary because I believe the number of light fixtures was off, and so it's a couple of additional lights. That's it.
Okay. Hold on, let me just get this reorganized. Okay, could I please have a motion to approve resolutions R-23-402 through R-23-408?
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Omar, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay.
Just want to, actually, if I can, Mr. Mayor, thank the council. We approved the pole banners. So if you guys see here, this is the penultimate version. The
Penultimate?
version is actually lighter, but I think it looks freaking awesome. That's a technical term. So we actually have seen the latest ones. Big thanks to Jimmy, DPW Director Cassidy. So at least 2 are going to go up before October 1st. I'm hoping for more, but it's super cool. So obviously Tenafly, huge nod to 1894. So really, thank you. I think this is going to look great throughout town. We're also doing really well on the actual signage. We're hopefully finalizing this week all the directionals, but just really proud of the team, and thank you guys very much. I think this is make a huge deal. Big thank you to the downtown committee.
That's great, Adam.
awesome.
It's great
Thank
stuff. Thank you. Okay. Anyone have any old business they'd like to bring up? All right. Next, could I have a motion to approve the minutes of August 7th, 2023, September 19th, 2023 Mayor and Council meeting, September 19th, 2023 closed session, and October 1st, 2023 special closed session.
Mayor,
So moved.
Mayor,
Yeah.
before you vote, I'd like to recuse myself on October 1st. Or not recuse, but to, I wasn't there. I stayed.
You want to abstain on the October 1st? So do we have to have a separate vote on that one? Okay. So motion on August 7th, September 19th, the first one, and September 19th, the closed session.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I could have a motion to approve the minutes for October 1st, 2023, the special closed session.
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Just abstain.
Yes, note that Councilman Menon abstained from that vote. Okay, thank you, everyone. For the good of the order,
Okay,
Councilwoman Dayton, you put a couple of items on the list here.
sorry. Some of these I've actually gotten answers to already, but Vinu, I guess this one's for you. The first one is, I've heard from some residents, they would very much like to see the zoning board back in person. If you can convey that to our chair, is it still Adam Kaminsky? And maybe you guys discuss it amongst yourselves, but I believe every other board within our borough has now returned, and some residents like that format. So, maybe the hybrid option is with residents logging in, a good one.
I will say that the hybrid option
Oh, you
doesn't
can't.
work well because of
The zoning.
hearings and
Yeah.
exhibits.
Got it.
And
E-
do-
Even
I
more
know
to-
the state doesn't permit for planning board, it has to be one or the other, it can't be hybrid. So is it the same for the Board of Adjustment?
They're only.
I
Good question.
did not look into that.
Because
but
I know
I
that was an
spoke with-
edict from the state.
With the board attorney, who said that hybrid would be a
Jump in.
nightmare.
All right. Manu wants to make a
Yeah,
comment.
I believe that was the argument that Jeff said, the board attorney laid out, that, you either need to be one or the other. But as far as, showing one or the other.
So we'll talk to Chairman Kaminsky. Okay. We'll talk to the chairman.
I'm just saying, some of our older residents who pay attention to meetings may not be as technologically, and I don't want to categorize, could be young people too, I'm just saying. Some people might have a preference of seeing the in-person
I mean,
hearings.
they have some of the engineers and the various professionals that come up and to the board also have some issues with the technology and, you know, how to get it right. And so there's always a lot of, back and forth. And then for a while, one of the, I think it was not Zoom, it was the one that we were using, WebEx, was having issues. So, you know, it's not ideal in my mind, and I've conveyed that a couple of times. But it is their own board. They're allowed to make their decisions, whatever. So,
Maybe just relay that. I'm
We
still
will,
here.
we'll talk to the chair, have a conversation.
And the next two are sort of together. They're the tree ordinance that we're back to. I just want to make sure everyone's aware, oh no, I'm sorry, one's the tree ordinance, one's contractors. There was an incident in the nature center where one of, a contractor, I shouldn't say one of our contractors, a contractor illegally dumped construction materials into our beautiful nature center. And I want to ensure that that contractor never works here in Tenafly again, essentially. I mean, if you cannot follow our ordinances, and if you are acting in this manner, I don't know how long it's going to take for that investigation, but I'm encouraging and putting it on the agenda now so that our council, whether I'm on it or not, follows through on that and brings that up and really enforces our ordinances on that one.
You said it's being investigated, do they know the contractor? Do they-
I don't know the status.
Okay, if you could have Deborah, definitely
And we'll
inform us.
report back the next meeting.
That'd be very important, thank you.
Yes, so again, our nature center is preserved. I can't believe somebody would have the audacity to do such a thing, but they did.
People do bad things.
They did. It's
People
not the
do
first
bad
thing
things.
that's been dumped there. I mean, please, whole Fister's Pond is covered in golf balls, so that's a whole nother thing.
Whole nother story.
Yes. And so I just want to sort of put that up there because, my time is limited. And then the last thing is, and maybe this is a Wendy question. So the trees that are 100 years old, the trees that are our largest, oldest trees, our shade canopy that keeps us cool on those 100-degree days are being cut down left and right. I would like to know if there's any ability for the council to take those out of the mitigation so that there's a harder effort to maintain the largest, oldest trees within our town. On Angle Street, a town just cut down unnecessarily 2 100-year-old or huge to the sky trees that were in the first 10 feet of the property. They're in the town's right of way. I don't know why any planning board or zoning board will allow that clear cutting. They should really try to preserve those. The house isn't going there. It's the first 10 feet of the property. And so again, I would like to propose a change to the tree ordinance where we can mitigate the smaller trees, but the larger ones, you can't just hold on to the money. Can you split it?
Yeah, I'm gonna defer to the.
The experts, yes. So can you make a carve out for those exceptionally old, large
So
trees?
the only thing, that I might say is if it was in the right of way, that should have been evaluated by DPW, and they're not supposed to be cut down without a reason.
And I have pictures of them as of like the other week. They were not sick, at least not to the eye. They were healthy, green, not falling branches.
Because Mike doesn't allow to cut down healthy trees in our right of way, so we can investigate.
I mean, it's too late for those two, but can we is there any
So you
room?
want to change, you're suggesting the ordinance be changed so that the age of the trees is considered in whether they could be taken down or not?
The
Yes,
width,
sir.
it technically is measured by the width, as we know, the circumference. We, have, 10 feet across, 20 feet across. But some of our trees actually are so old and so large that they exceed that enormously.
So, but I'm trying to get clarity on your ask. Is it an age?
Like,
It's the caliber.
The caliber?
it's,
That's
yeah,
how you measure the.
there we go. Caliber of the tree.
Caliber.
Caliper, excuse me, caliber too, whether it's a good-looking tree.
So Jeff, you want to add to this discussion?
Yes, I remember a few years ago when we were looking at tree ordinances and we were looking at other towns. I want to say it's
Teaneck.
Englewood, actually.
Teaneck tried to protect one.
But I think Englewood
Landmark.
has language about historic trees in their
Yes.
ordinance.
Love it.
But again, you run into the problem of some of this is just, we need to look at this a different way. Bottom line is, we're looking at it as, okay, you take it down, you gotta pay some sort of a fee.
I don't like that. Not
I
nice.
know, but if they take it down, then what do you do? Take them to jail? I mean, the punishment has
No,
to fit the
listen,
crime.
It has to be a plan that preserves them then.
Right, no,
Then-
I get that. I am all for it. I'm just,
I mean, a housing plan, a property plan. Like, don't build your house where there's a 100-year-old tree.
well, we already raised that. I mean, when it's at the Board of Adjustments or at the Planning Board, and I've been
Right.
on both, those questions are always raised, but here's the problem. The way our ordinances are at least now, and maybe that, I don't know, that would be really tough, but you could say, if I'm building where I don't need any variance, no FAR, no side yard, front yard, I don't need to come before either of those boards. I can literally tear down and pay whatever fee for the trees exist. I don't know that any town has in their zoning, specifically zoning ordinance where you have to get a variance to take down a certain number of trees.
A certain
Or
caliber
certain
of trees.
caliper of trees.
Well,
But that's what,
no,
but
look,
that's
look,
what,
look.
but that's what gets back to, you know, Mike Cassidy's role. And I have said repeatedly that we need to re-examine that because the head of DPW spends 1,000 hours a year on trees. No, no, I
Look at
know,
the
I
size of
know,
this.
I know exactly which ones you're talking about.
Right, but it's based on the code, it's legal.
It's
Right,
no
so-
different
and-
than a
and-
house.
we don't
It's
know.
still
Here,
near the
I'm
house.
So-
just
so
gonna
the-
jump in.
we don't
Yeah,
jump
know.
in
go
on
ahead.
the-
Cut down
So
the
here's the thing,
Yeah.
your borough code does not allow
Right.
the cutting of any tree that isn't sick, basically.
But everyone says their tree's sick, so they can take it down.
But no, because
If he's
Mike
the tree
Cassidy,
taking
who's
it
your
down.
certified tree expert, has to go and he declares, based on his knowledge and
The problem is
I don't
when
know
they
if you guys can see
take
this.
down the
These two
trees
are just taken down.
without even,
so the
Notify.
problem is that separately, your development allows trees to be taken down if they're within the footprint of the
Of the
development.
construction.
The house is nowhere
So
near.
Right, but,
if you
but so,
like
but
or drive-
we need to look at, we can't have this conversation esoterically with photographs of trees. We need to see the site plan and the details.
Fine, I'm just telling you, these were in the
Right.
10 feet right away, nowhere near the, we're proposing a new house. My point is, I want to amend our ordinance. Is anyone else interested in this kind of carve-out for these super old?
Julie?
well,
Trees.
I'm sorry, I would look at what Englewood has
Right.
again. I know
Look
we,
at it.
I know we looked at it, and there were some issues with it, but I would go back to that. I'm sorry, Julie.
Yeah, go ahead, Julie.
Okay, I wanted to say, so Councilman Menon and I had a meeting with DPW Director Jimmy not that long ago. We are exploring ways to continue to strengthen the tree code. I will say that Tenafly's tree code, in comparison to the ones in the neighbor in quite a while, is actually one of the more stringent ones, okay? Which is very sad. Thank you. That is very true, but it is true.
We're a
Tenafly's
shade
got,
tree town.
right. So well, we were, and we're not anymore, I learned actually, which makes sense actually. But I did want to say, we do have some trees that are designated in this town as historic trees. We do. That is not a new concept. There are a few. And Mike can give you a list of those. Those are not cuttable trees. Those do have to do with age. So I did just want to say that.
Okay.
Okay, so
Manu, did you have your hand up?
that was.
No, I mean, Julie kind of said it.
So-
well,
so
but I would just add that, you know, if it is in the right of way and stuff like that, you know, he does have to approve it. I don't know if it has to come to, it doesn't have to come to council, but maybe that's something that we should do. But there are residents and developers who do they cut down the trees without authorization sometimes. And for those, we need to have additional kind of penalties.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Because
But
after
like,
the fact, you
actually
know,
that
but
hurts.
we have to hit them with a strong penalty, including one that we were talking about, which is banning the, and this is something that we wanted to speak with our attorney about, you know, banning the the developer from building again for a certain period of time as a, you know.
If they
as a
violate the
measure.
code.
So it's
But
the
we'll
same-
talk
Is that
about
possible?
legality.
Yes, it's the same code that would apply for the illegal dumping.
Can't you just make a different
contractor,
LLC?
And it's,
That's not-
yes,
Can't you
it's
just
non-compliant
create
with
another
our
LLC?
ordinances, and it's already
That's not
in
my
there.
question. My question is, can we legally do that?
Yes,
If,
we're doing-
if there's licensed, contractors that are licensed by the state that provide a
Right.
licensing to the borough, that are not in conformance with borough code, then yes, there are repercussions to that, but not planting a tree when they've put the money in the shade tree fund
That's
and
not
not
what it's-
fulfilling the
that's not-
mitigation.
That's not what the
No.
council's asking.
No, I understand, but if
Not in
they
these cases.
followed it and placed the money in, their failure to plant and
That's not
relinquishing of
what
the
any of
fund.
us are saying.
I understand, but let me just get through this. That would not be considered a violation of your code. If they're coming in and they're cutting trees without a permit, then yes, they are violating borough code. There's fines, there's, you know, municipal violation. Dumping in the nature center, quite frankly, is also a state violation. I put the executive director in contact with the hotline for DEP because that'll get investigated by the state as well.
But we have a lot of things that we're gonna come to Wendy with, but these are like works in progress, so you're definitely, we hear you, Lauren, we couldn't agree more on.
So the question on the table was though,
Yes.
can
Yeah,
a
Yeah,
contractor
she
be
said yeah.
banned
Yes,
for breaking whatever ordinances and rules there are?
so our ordinances,
Wait a
I
minute,
just
let's-
read this.
Right, but let's,
Yes,
okay,
Yes, yes.
yes.
So
Okay.
our ordinance is specific. You can't remove their license. That's done by the state, as Wendy said. But the way our ordinance says is, we give you permission to be permitted and work within our
Right.
borders. If you violate our code, we may take the work permit away.
It's almost
And
like a
you-
business license to operate
act-
in town.
but they get, a contractor gets a permit based on a specific house.
They have to be registered
With
with
the
the
borough.
town.
And they can lose their
As a contract.
registration.
They could lose their registration based on, okay.
They can either lose the specific work permit or
And
the
that's in our
registration.
ordinances now?
Yes. I just
We
looked this
just-
up.
But contractors are licensed by the state.
understand
That was
that,
a
yeah.
change that came down, I don't
Yeah, I
know, 10
understand
years ago.
So we can't, they'll still
Yes.
work other places, but
Okay.
not at our place.
So we're gonna look at that.
I
We're,
mean,
we're thinking out of the box, that's all I'm saying.
we need to
Yes,
enforce
Jeff.
it.
We're
This is
working
what we
on it.
enforce.
Jeff,
Just to circle back, I checked Englewood, it's called landmark trees.
We have
That's what they're
historic
called.
trees. It's the equivalency.
Okay,
That's why Tina came up, T-Next
we
died.
have all the same, the tree species is rare, the tree is more than 100 years old and healthy, the tree is of abnormal height or abnormal trunk diameter for the, or drip line for the tree of its species, or the location, history, fragrance, aesthetic features or scenic enhancement, such trees of special importance to, in this case, Englewood.
So I stand corrected, it actually is protection of landmark trees in your ordinance as well. It's not historic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so they have to be approved though by the
Is that
council
private or
according
public
to,
property?
Mike
at
can give
least
you a
according
list of
to
them.
Englewood's.
Yeah,
And we've never had one come before, we.
Oh, to
Oh,
get
no.
on the list? Well,
To get on
Michael,
How do we get a tree on that list?
No, Mike
Question.
has a list.
Can I
Okay, we
put
need
other
to start.
people's trees on the list? Can I go around and say that house is that house?
so there's a criteria in your code, and it would come for approval from mayor and council.
But does it have to be by the homeowner? Or can-
On the recommendation of the engineers, city arborist and/or Englewood Environmental Commission, I assume we have similar
Mike has
language.
a list of some of those trees.
But I
We
want
have
to add to
some.
it.
Okay.
okay, so we're not gonna write additional codes here. on
Right,
the
so we don't
fly.
need to
Right.
write additional, but we can already take affirmative steps to protect these trees
All right, you've got
that we're
this.
not taking.
I still want to have it in the tree ordinance somewhere.
You do have a separate ordinance protecting shade trees, which are in the borough right away. They cannot be taken down without a permit from.
Apparently this got permitted, these two, because I called it in. I said, why are these still taken down? Someone said, someone gave them a permit. Who's
Okay.
giving out these permits? No one's paying attention.
Well, we don't know the details. Like I said, we need to look at a site plan to see if there's an
The
issue.
house is not going on the
Right,
sidewalk,
but a
promise you.
sidewalk can be going there, a driveway could be going there,
Driveway's-
a water retention tank could be going there, could be a lot of things going on.
Or they could have left up
Could be-
200-year-old trees
right,
to
but
suck
we've
up
got
the
to see
water.
the site plans in order to make that determination. Okay, you had a question?
Let's go in there.
Two different topics, just quickly.
Yeah.
The first one, hopefully an easy one, if I could get the council's alignment. I've gotten a couple residents ask me about sort of online signups, and actually, again, with your permission, I'd love to speak to Jamie, who's so perfectly leading our rec department. So signups for different things, McCandless Room, Davis Johnson, all of these things, in theory, they're online. You could go online and sign up for Davis Johnson. We sign up with a PDF that you're supposed to print out, right?
That's our
It's
website.
it's the opposite of online. It's people, right? So is there a way through, whether it's, I assume Civic Plus, maybe I could work with Omar and Jamie, to actually put these things online, so I could go online, look at Davis Johnson Park, realize, see that on Saturday, there's a 1 to 3 opening, and I could sign up for it.
That's exactly what was intended, and it has not.
Okay, can I work with,
So
can I
let's
work with Omar
work with
and Jamie,
Omar
please, on
to go
that?
through the details of
Really
that.
make
Correct.
things online. Cool, that's one.
The
Yep.
other one, Omar, while you're on it, is
There may be a
pet
module we need,
licenses
if we
and
don't already have
But
it.
you
Yep,
just- super
annual
easy.
license is a
Yeah.
Let's just-
PDF.
okay.
Okay, and then the second one,
Pet license is cash, right?
All right, go ahead, second one.
and then the second one is thank you to the team. We have these engineers now. Thanks to Susan. Sorry, let me step back. Back in July, we spoke to engineers. We aligned as a council that we wanted to make our traffic safer. We wanted to start with the Dean East Clinton intersection. That was back in July. Now we're not August, September, October, getting close to November. Susan helped us with giving us recommendations on how to take care of that. When are we taking action on Susan's good work and taking a decision on this thing that we all agreed we want to make our town safer?
I guess now it's, we've appointed engineers, we have to go down the road of estimates and execute it.
Next meeting, just
And
Do
then
we have
identify the
approval
numbers
from the
and source of financing.
So can we,
But we had, so
Since we-
Susan gave us
They have to-
the
that's
3
step one.
recommendations.
Wait,
Sit
but
down
if
with
we-
them.
So at the next meeting, will we
Whoever
appoint
we
somebody?
hire.
Go ahead, Jeff.
You
Yeah.
appointed your professionals
tonight,
tonight.
Okay,
Now you can task them with giving you estimates for the next for the projects that you want to see done, which you all came to a decision in July that there were certain projects that were priorities.
okay.
And so now that there's someone appointed, we can execute agreements with them, and now
ask
it
for
starts moving
quotes and
forward.
get the details.
and
So
that's
who-
Jimmy's role, but
Can we do that
who's
tomorrow?
gonna-
Give me a chance to draft a contract. So by the end of the week, yes, we can ask for estimates.
So-
You can certainly ask for estimates by tomorrow, but there will be contracts that just need to be executed in accordance with your.
Okay, so you and Jimmy can do that this week.
Well, we'll definitely do it before the 17th.
But again, this is what I'm trying to
Yes,
understand.
yes.
So at the 17th, what happens at the 17th?
By the meeting on the 24th, you should have proposal. Again, any action.
Right, the
that
next
is
council meeting is
taken-
on the 24th.
Correct, so
Correct.
any action that's gonna be taken, any project that's gonna be done, will have to be authorized and funding authorized by separate resolution. So presumably, there'll be a resolution on for the 24th for the next, for one or more projects of what you wanted to accomplish
Okay.
based on availability of funds.
Okay, so let's just make sure whatever we need to do.
For the
that this
24th.
council can take an up or down vote on the 24th with the phase 1 that we already
Well,
sort of
just
agreed to.
remember though, it's based on what funds are available. So if there has to be a bond ordinance, if there has to be an appropriation ordinance, that would be introduced, but you would need 2 meetings before there's funds available.
So that's why I go back.
If it's something that's smaller, that there's still money in the operational budget, which was one of the suggestions that Susan had made as well. If there's smaller operational projects, those can move forward more quickly because the money's already in.
Or
in
the American
accounts.
Recoveries money,
That
which
will
is there
still
as
need
well.
to be appropriated.
Okay, so what can we do to be more efficient? So at the meeting on the 24th, what's going to happen?
So the goal
Susan,
is-
please, feel free to.
I mean, the next step in the process is gathering the estimates. Right, so we can't,
Once you have estimates
do it
and
each
you
step
can,
at a
then you
time.
have a project that you can make an
Correct.
appropriation for, then the ordinance can be introduced on the
right, it has
24th.
to happen in a sequence.
But it has to be
Okay.
based on a project itself.
Correct.
Otherwise, Susan has no way to designate what the money is
Correct.
used for.
So,
Okay, so thank you for reading through my options.
yes, I'm a good reader.
So it all depends on the funding sources. There's certain rules, if we take it from the ARP, and there's other rules for operating. We already did our operating budget. Now, if there's not enough funding for the amount for the engineering, The good news is, in November, you could do transfers, should we have any money in other places in the budget. So only in November and December, but it depends on how much
Right.
the
So I
project's
think we
gonna
need to
cost.
do two things, so let's put two things on the agenda for the 24th. One is, we're gonna send out the proposal, and we're gonna come back, and 47 people are gonna come back, 48 different,
No,
No.
we just hired 2 engineers.
great, I'm playing, great. 2 people are gonna come back
Correct.
with one, with the plan. We can, at that 24th meeting, decide which one we like, so that's the first piece. And then in parallel, if we could ask Susan to be prepared, which I think she did already, it was very helpful what she sent out. At that meeting, we will also decide as a council, let's spend it in Susan's recommendation, A, B, or C. Is that what's gonna happen on the 24th?
So.
Yes,
so-
basically,
well,
but
well,
Jeff, go ahead first.
Yeah, corollary, so that we don't end up getting frustrated,
No, yeah.
which we often
I'm
do.
seeking to understand, yeah.
We know that our top priority is Dean and Clinton.
Yep.
That light.
Yep.
Where in all this does the county fit in the process? Because we can approve whatever we
We
want.
got that already. Again, this is why it's
Do
really
we
important.
have that in
We
hand?
absolutely have that already. So from July,
No,
Wait,
we can't have,
do-
we don't have it officially yet. We can't have it until
Okay,
the
so-
engineers do it.
When do you want?
I got a question.
That's why I'm asking that question, because I don't think we officially have it. I think there's a tacit understanding, which in the government world is
Not.
nothing.
If I may, Mayor.
Go ahead, please.
So if you were to ask for these 2 traffic engineers to now give you estimates on what it would cost to do the lighting on D Drive, you should anticipate that there will be a line item of discussion with county and meetings with the county as part of that budget item, because it's going to take coordination with the county. I know that during the consulting and planning stage of this, when the overall area was being looked at, there were initial discussions with the county, and there was the feeling that the county would let the borough move forward.
Agreed.
But you should anticipate that there will be discussions with county on that list of estimates as items, and
That's
it'll
fine.
move forward from
That's
there.
fine, yeah.
So I think you're both saying truths, you're just saying it differently.
So I just want to make sure we don't have the
Yeah, but that shouldn't,
frustration.
that's not gonna hold us back from.
No, so.
It won't hold us back, it'll lengthen the timeline for
Oh, it's gonna take
actually.
800 years to do it, that.
Right, and I don't want unrealistic expectation, because like you, I would like to see this project
Yeah,
happen.
So if I can- So the way you should think about this is the same way we handled our engineer Colliers, right? They go out, they look at the project, they give you an amount to do that project. Then the project comes to fruition,
Yep.
and then we do an ordinance
Yep.
to a capital ordinance to handle the project. That's the direct cost. The engineering is what they call soft costs. It's in our statute as section 20 costs, separate. So there could be an operating piece for engineering before the project is really set in stone, and then there'll be engineering services associated with the project, the oversight and everything else. So first comes, you find the project, you say what you're gonna do, then if it's let's say it's a road, and there's a grant associated with, we'd have
yeah,
to.
funding source.
Right.
Yep.
And then usually you would know the amount of the grant, though, if you're gonna get it.
I would, but again, because we've already done a lot of the funding source stuff, ideas, options, what I wanna do is, at the meeting on the 24th, I'd like to decide on 2 things as a council. One, again, which one of the 2, and then 2, you, very helpful, again, keep in mind, you did all this work for us already, let's just make sure everyone's read it, and we're going to pick which one of those 3 or a 4th, more creative solution, but I wanna take action
Why
at the
don't
24th.
we coordinate on, through the next 2 weeks anyway, as part of the entire process, to make sure that everything is lining up in accordance with what you are anticipating, as well as what was discussed. I'm gonna need probably assistance moving forward with that.
Okay, I just-
Yeah. So I gave you 3 options. All of them are good.
No, I agree. I think it's awesome. And again, this is traffic safety. I think all 6 of us agree that this is kind of
7
important.
of us.
7 of us, even better. Okay, let's do that and have both those on the 24th.
All right, very good. Thank you. All right, Dan, you want to read the introduction of the new ordinance?
I move to introduce on first reading ordinance 23-23 and set the hearing for October 24th, 2023 at 8 p.m. or soon thereafter.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Omar?
Ordinance number 23-23, an ordinance of the Borough of Tenafly, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 2, Administration of Government, Article 2, General Organization, Section 2-46, Volunteer Ambulance Corps of the Revised General Ordinances of the Borough of Tenafly, 2004. Councilmember Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, I'm right, because of our...
Since JP is on, I just want to thank JP Pedetto and the TVAC. By the way, there was an event tonight, and at the JCC and the TVAC were there, so thank you for their continued service, and the ordinance we just passed,
Introduced.
introduced, was for the Volunteer Ambulance Corps. Thank you.
Okay, I think this evening, because of the hour, we have a closed session, we should skip the committee reports and the mayor's remarks.
Second.
Okay?
Mr. Mayor?
Unless you really want me to do mayor's remarks, I'm happy to do it.
Mr. Mayor,
Julie.
can I say one comment, though? It's rather
Go ahead.
important. I just wanted to say that we're about a little over 1 week with the Tenafly Community Compost Pilot Program, and I have some figures from our first week, and this is just around 50 families participating. We have had over 300 pounds of food scraps in the first 8 days, and that is just so remarkable to me, that the amount of food waste that ends up in landfills, it has to be staggering if just 50 families have 300 pounds in 8 days. So I just want to thank the families participating, and hopefully we can expand our composting. And I just wanted to tell everyone that thanks to Mike from DPW for getting our sheds up, Environmental Commission for helping to also fund it. So just wanted to say that I was impressed by the amount of food scraps we are collecting.
Thank you, Julie. And Dorothy's doing a great job with that, isn't she?
Fantastic. Dorothy Quincy
Yeah.
is really spearheading it, and she's a force.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Can you read the closed session language,
Wait,
please?
Mayor, 1 second before we close, I just want to say something quick about Israel. Is that okay? We did that in the beginning, I missed it.
We did that in the beginning.
I'm going to join in on that, since I wasn't here. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, good.
All right, can you read the closed session?
It's Resolution 23-409 at a meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, held on October 10th, 2023. The Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly has deemed it necessary to go into a closed session to discuss certain matters which are exempted from the public. Be it resolved in compliance with NJSA 10:4-12, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly are going into closed executive session to discuss the following: personnel, human resources, and borough administrator, and matters falling under the attorney-client privilege. Minutes will be taken of the meeting and released to the public at the time that the matter is resolved.
Could I have a motion to go into close, please? So moved. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.